and welcome. I did a short video earlier this week where I showed you that the new tent came in and I said we were going camping this weekend. Well, life has a way of throwing wrenches into things. We're only out here for the afternoon, but I'm doing the next best thing to camping. Through Facebook and social media lately, I've received a few questions about the stove that I use, the Pomoly T1 Perspective. So I brought it out with me today, and we're going to do a review. I've had this thing for just over 2 years now. I bought it in September of 2021. We are now in December of 2023. It's seen a lot of use. Let's see how well it's faring. So the case that it comes with showing only a few signs of wear, but it still works well. It still does its job and protects the stove. Now, once we open it up, there's my CO2 detector that I always keep in the tent. Couple of guy lines that I made up for the chimney if I need it. The spark arrestor, which needs still a little bit of cleaning, but does its job well. This is still the original chimney pipe that the stove came with. I bought an extra one thinking that this would not last very long because it's so thin and flimsy, or seems to be. But I haven't had to change it yet. It still works great. It's a little bent, but it works. Now here's the stove itself. The lid, the damper, still turns freely, still works very well. The lid, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a little bit of warpage. They've got these 3 supports underneath to minimize the warping, but there is still a little bit. The panels with the glass seems to hold them together fairly well. They do not warp. Still raises nice and easy. This back panel, it has just a little bit of warping, but again, it still opens easy. The side panels are a little bit stiffer because of the long hinge in the bottom. The plain flat sidewall still raises up. Still closes nice and easy. Now, some of these screws will sometimes tighten up on their own, so I'll have to go in and loosen them just a little bit when it's cool and I'm at home. Sometimes they loosen up a bit too much, and then I have to take it home and tighten them up. But they still work fantastic. Now this sidewall here has quite a big belly in it, but it still does the job and seals up. This wall with the glass, still very straight because it's such a big glass on that side, I think. But it closes up very well. And when we put the lid on, even with the little bit of warping that the lid has, it still closes well. It still does its job. The bottom, the legs fold out nice and easy. Again, it has the 3 support bars to minimize the warping. Don't know if you can see that, but it has warped. But again, everything still works well. The front vents still open and close, nice and easy. The door works very well. And that's the setup of the stove itself. Now, I wrote down the measurements at home and I forgot to bring the paper with me, and I don't have a measuring tape. But if I remember right, it's 15 inches long by 8 inches by, I believe, 7 3/4. Don't remember the centimeters. I'll have to figure those out at home, and I will put the measurements on the screen. Now I'm going to set this down, and we're going to set up the chimney. I checked before leaving, and the weather was not calling for any rain or snow. As soon as I started setting up the stove, it started to snow. It looked like it wasn't going to stop, so I threw up the tarp. I get the tarp up, it stops. Oh well, them's the breaks. Now I'm going to put the stove down, set up the chimney, and at least now, if it does start to snow, I've got a spot where I can stick the camera where it won't get wet. And now you just take the spark arrestor, and slide it over the top. Now, normally I'm setting this up in a tent. There's a stove jack a little higher up, which helps keep the pipe from moving around too much. Because I'm setting it up outside as a demonstration, and that chimney pipe is fairly long, I'm going to get my tripod, set it up behind the stove so that I can lean the chimney onto the tripod. And I will take one of my guy lines and guy it to a tree back there, holding it against the tripod so the wind can't blow it around. So now the tripod is right behind the stove. I have one of my guy lines. And I've placed key rings all around the stovepipe. I've got a small carabiner on my guy line so I can just clip it on. Now that the chimney is in place, I can adjust my tripod a little closer. Now I can just take this guy line, tie it over here to the tree, and the chimney should stay fairly solid, just for today's purposes. We're not going to be here forever. We're lighting a fire, we're having a cup of tea and some lunch, and that's it. I'm not even getting fancy with the tying. I'm just kind of wrapping it around. It doesn't need to be super tight. It's just there so that if the wind blows the chimney that way, the line will keep it from going over and it'll just bring it back. So first, I want to make sure the damper is open all the way so it gets lots of airflow. And I come around to the front here and I make sure the front vent is wide open. I have a piece of birch bark and one of the fire lighters that I made. It's just a cotton makeup pad dipped in Vaseline and then coated with wax. So we'll pull that apart, exposing some fine fibers. We'll get our door open. Get that in the stove. And I have some pieces of kindling here. Get that all loaded up. And then we'll let her burn. ready for tea. Water should be boiling soon, and then we can make our tea. Because of where we are, I have a steel bucket that I usually leave here. So by flipping it upside down, it gives me a perfect little side table. I brought everything I needed for lunch, forgot to bring a plate. Luckily, there's lots of plates here. Tea is steeping. I'll move that to the side. Set our pan on top of the stove. Add a little bit of oil. And let that heat up a little. We're going to start with 4 little breakfast sausage. While those are cooking up, I'm going to get myself a cup of tea. And then we'll talk a little bit about lunch. You've already seen I'm making a few sausages. The local radio station was having a poll the other day on whether or not, who likes eggnog and who doesn't, and different recipes and things that you do with eggnog. I happen to love eggnog, so I brought some along today. But one of the recipes, somebody said they add a little bit of eggs to the eggnog and they make French toast. Normally, you scramble your eggs with a little bit of milk, a little bit of vanilla or cinnamon or something to give it some flavor. Dip your bread in there, fry it up. Tastes great. But when they mentioned that they did it with eggnog instead of the milk, I figured I'd have to give it a try. So we're going to cook up these sausages. And then we're going to make some French toast. So I brought 2 eggs. A small container that I can mix everything in. And 4 slices of bread. And in here I have some brown sugar mixed with cinnamon. So I'm going to crack the eggs into here, add some of the eggnog, add some of the brown sugar and cinnamon, and then once the sausages are ready, we will start making some French toast. number 1. Ooh, don't flip it over into my lap. That would not be funny. Egg number 2. Guess I should have got a stick. We are back with a stick. Let's scramble these up. Pour in a little bit of our eggnog. That should be enough. Then we'll add a bit of the brown sugar and cinnamon. Give that all a stir with our stick and blend it all in together. Now we'll put the lid on that so we don't spill it. And have a nice sip of our tea while we wait for those sausages. So this little stove works very well. When I had that cabin built here, that little stove would keep that whole cabin warm. And now that I've got the One Tigris North Gaze tent, it heats that up without a problem. It's a good little stove. If I had to do it all over again, would I buy it again? Yes, yes I would. I do like it, it works very well. Nice for heating up the tent. Nice for cooking up some lunch. Now let's check these sausages. Oh yeah, those are done. So now let's take our beautiful plate. Get our sausages on there. It's not a very big plate, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to eat some sausages before I can put the bread on there. Now, we take our bread, drop it into that eggnog mixture, turn it over, let it all soak in a little. Just toss that into the pan. Delicious. Now, here's where the good part comes in. Silverwater syrups, maple syrup from Manitoulin Island. This is where it gets messy. Add some syrup. Oh wow, yeah, that is delicious. The best part of these plates, when you're done, they're easy to wash. Oh. Put the cap back on the maple syrup. So the stove works great. Heats well, cooks well. Makes a good cup of tea. Warm that up a little bit. Oh. But after 2 years, and all we have is a little bit of warpage, but everything still works great, I am not going to complain. I will have to replace that chimney at some point. But like I said, I've already got the spare at home. See how long it lasts. I think what I'm going to start doing though is when I go out, I will put that spare chimney in the car so that if something happens to this one while I'm out, I've got a spare and I don't have to panic. So just a little update. Christmas is right around the corner. It's 2 weeks away. And with our upcoming move towards the end of January, we are going to be very busy. I am not sure how much I will be able to get out, but I will do what I can. There may be a week or two where I miss a video, There's nothing I can do about it. If I can sneak time in to do something, I will. And if I can't, we'll see you in the new year. Fire's dying down, and I think I'm going to let it die out because it's getting to be that time. I'm going to have to head back for home and start getting ready for work tomorrow. But I want to thank you all for coming along. Always a pleasure having you with me. And if you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. And if you're going to do that, you may as well hit the notification bell. When you do, it'll have a drop-down menu. In that menu, select all, and it should let you know whenever we put out a new video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.